So many different things going on. The other interesting thing that happened this morning was that for Muse Brain Sensing Headband Level 10, it says do one in the morning, a Muse session, and do one in the evening. So this morning I did my rebounding, I did my spook, I did my traction, had a smoothie, had a shower. I did 10 minutes of coherence breathing. And then I sat down to do my Muse session. And I did 10 minutes. And I was sitting there, the light was on, and it wasn't completely quiet. And I was sitting there really feeling like my creative brain was going, and I was thinking about what I'm creating and everything I've been writing down to try to get it organized about what I'm going to create for this business proposal to get into this program. And I was feeling like I really want to have the means to hire a friend of mine to work with me because she's really amazing at food and nutrition stuff, and that's what she loves to do. So my brain was very active. It was really pondering creatively, but it was about something that was really meaningful and deep and something that I'm moving towards and creating. It was a creative state. It wasn't ruminating. It wasn't about me. It was about also, I had the idea of sharing what I would spend my money on if I made X amount of money. I would buy walnuts and the best nuts and seeds and coconut oil, etc. from realrawfood.com, which I haven't done in quite a while because I haven't had the means since I've been working less after being traumatized in the hospital last year. So I was thinking, my brain was active. I wasn't focusing on my breath at all. And I looked at the results after, and I don't know if there was a mistake, but it showed I had 0 seconds active, 0 recoveries, because my brain didn't go into the active state according to their algorithm at all, and 85% calm time. So I don't know if this was a mistake. I'm going to try this again tomorrow morning and do the same sort of thing. I'm not sure if the breathing coherence did that to my brain, because I don't think I've ever done breathing coherence and then within the hour done a Muse headband thing. I could try it again tonight. I could do 10 minutes of coherence and then 10 minutes of Muse and see what happens, because my brain was very calm. So I'm curious about this algorithm of the brain being very calm but very active, because it's no use having a calm brain that's calm just by focusing on the breath and making it, forcing it to be calm based on focusing on the breath. That doesn't have very much value. But if we can be very active in our brains but very calm, that has value for sure. So these are my screenshots. It could have been a screw up of somehow like a one-off, but we will see. And this could actually be showing that breathing in coherence is a lot more powerful than focusing on one's breath and using a Muse headband. So if the two were combined, there could be something even more powerful there. So I've decided to maybe work on the expert level of coherence breathing and master that to some extent, because it's very physiological. And I've been pondering this idea of physiology and also being connected to the real, like connected to nature, is something real. And having the brain active and calm and being really active with life and what's real. Because being active, full of abstractions about the self and past and memory, and it's all a bunch of noise. But perhaps creativity isn't this active noise. Perhaps it's calm. Maybe this is hypofrontality, transient hypofrontality, the brain being very active and alive, but not noisy, and having this diversion and wastage of energy. And I wonder if it's choiceless awareness that Krishnamurti talks about, and passive alertness, the brain being passive but very alert, very active, very sharp, very fluid, very pliable. And this morning, something came to mind related to the physiology bit, which is that it seems like there's an irony in that when we don't have enough material in terms of nutrition, in terms of, say, minerals, micronutrients, so we don't have enough matter at the micro level, then at the macro level, it's a lot easier for us to accept living meaningless habitual lives, believing in the values that society has programmed into us, like wealth, success, power over others, etc., etc. And then as we go along, we're wasting more of our precious minerals because we're not seeing, we're projecting program values and moving according to that. So we're wasting energy, we're wasting our nutrition. And then eventually some people have like a spiritual emergency or emergence of some kind where life feels really meaningful and we're moving in this new field of meaning as a reaction to having lived so long in this meaningless life, which correlates to not having proper nutrients. So low meaning, low nutrition at the micro level of matter. And meaning is something subtle. It's not something that we think of as material, but it's tied into the material in that we can't make right meanings and create right meanings and live by meaning if we don't have the right nutrition. So the significance is tied into the microphysiology, the micronutrition, the micromaterial matter. And then we can also get lost in that we have this reactive spiritual experience. It feels hyper spiritual to compensate for the lack of meaning that as we've lived, we've accumulated all this time with very little meaning. So then as a reaction, we feel this short period of time with so much meaning. And then the trouble with this is that after that falls away, even if we integrate that and feel like life has quite a bit more meaning, we crave this hyper spiritual space again. Whereas if we have the right nutrition, the right nutrients, the right matter at the micro level, we can meet life and it feels meaningful every single moment, and we're not looking for a particular meaning or a particular experience or a particular hyped up, inflated experience. We're not looking for experience at all because we have the nutrition to look at life and what's right in front of us, see it, be with it, meet it, move with it, and see the meaning and the significance of it in the moment. So we have the right micro matter of minerals, we can see the meaning and significance of each moment, and then we're not turned into spiritual seekers, because that is looking for more meaning away from the moment because we can't see the meaning of the moment. So that's why I feel like these micronutrients help with seeing. They help with seeing the moment now. So it's not a bad thing per se to have this hyper spiritual experience, but part of what I've talked about with myself with harvest, perceive, gesture, and body is being able to move with the moment now and bring some of that experience as informing how we can move each moment in daily life and bring that inflated experience down to daily life existence. And maybe instead of feeling the meaning of the entire cosmos in a moment, we can move in one way of the new 1,000 ways that we did in that state in one moment and share that meaning in a gesture and have that put into our system as part of our neurology, part of our brain cells. And that can be done more effectively when we have the right nutrition to build those physiological structures as we're able to see and meet the moment. So the moment moves us, the moment then informs our system, and it's a type of Gaia feedback. So if we have proper nutrition on the micro level, we can live a spiritual, meaningful life every moment on the macro level. I don't know if I said it exactly this way, but I was seeing it a little bit differently. When we meet the moment, and we see it, we see the meaning and significance. It's there as an epiphenomenon. And then we're moving in that field. Whereas when we're moving in the field of thought, the past memory, and the self, each moment creates a feeling. And feeling is part of memory, which is part of the self. So we're moving based on our personal feelings. And a lot of times we take that to be so great. Like, if thoughts aren't good and logic, well, then let's go with our emotions and feelings. But that's also conditioned from the past. So we see the meaning and the significance, not the feeling, which ties into recognizing it as a past experience. Like, this feels similar to when I was at this place when I was a child. It's still tied into memory. And those feelings are tied into the epiphenomenon of the self. And I wrote in text, it's interesting how when we're having strong feelings and maybe showing emotions, some people say, "What's the matter?" So the answer is in the question. Something about matter, something about not having the right nutrition. And it's interesting because this micro level of nutrition, if that's not correct, then we can't see meaning in the macro level, which isn't material at all. But when we don't understand how our bodies work, if we're not feeding our bodies right, we don't work to understand how our physical apparatus work. How can we use that physical apparatus to make, create, see, perceive, move with meaning? And then when we can't do that, we're all looking for meaning somewhere else than the moment, because we can't see the moment because we're blinded by our seeking. So I'm saying that mainly to illustrate that even what I've been talking about with myself, and I have talked about this along the way, if we turn those experiences into something we're seeking again, by seeking something again, we are making ourselves blind. So we're back to the original mechanism that is a problem, which is seeking something away from the moment, not seeing the moment, not meeting it. And this morning I felt these bursts of joy and energy, and I wasn't sure if it was from the coherence breathing or if it was from the organic yerba mate. I'll need to continue to experiment with that. So I thought of a couple things. One is about how some people like me won't be able to pay for coaching. So I was thinking about creating a way that people can pay by IOU, which is I owe the universe. Because it's not about people paying me money, but giving their gifts to humanity. And that's part of what happens in trance consciousness and map consciousness, is we see we do have gifts to give humanity. And we attempt to give them, and a lot of times we fail. But we can get up and keep on moving in that capacity to give. And then I realized that could be part of the process of a person designing their dream lifestyle. And that would be a way to apply for this I owe the universe. So this is the way I'm going to live when I trance and blah, blah, blah. And that movement of attempting to design one's dream lifestyle is getting in alignment with what for. Transcend what for? Why? So, regardless of if I utilize that or not, it's interesting because starting to think about how one would live the life of one's dreams is, from the very get-go, before one even completes that process, the very start of that is a movement of saying, I want to live. I want to live a meaningful life. I want to live a life giving my gifts. The very intention, without even doing anything yet, is that very movement that is that creative movement of trans consciousness. Seeing that we have gifts and wondering how we're going to give them and live them out. And I thought of another thing to do with that is that an attempt to make meaning, make one's own meaning out of extreme state experiences is again that original act, in that we're moving into alignment with the fact that we can create our perceptions. So map consciousness and trans consciousness is a space of creative perception. Some other energy is coming into play and creating new perceptions. And by considering those experiences, those extreme state experiences, and making different meaning out of it, we're creating new perceptions. So again, we're in alignment with that original movement of map consciousness. And this is an intentional way of sitting down and making meaning, but it's still that same movement. So what I'm trying to point to is that it's not about making a particular meaning, or once I have 100 meanings, or once I have my favorite meaning that I've ever created. It's just the movement to make new meaning out of something, to see something anew. And that's the main trouble, is we can't see things anew. We can't see what's right in front of us anew. We're seeing it in terms of the old. So even taking an old experience, an old big, meaningful, extreme state experience that we had interpreted for us and called mental illness, and then going back to that, making new meaning out of it, all of a sudden we're creating perception. So we're in that movement of creating perception. And it's not about the right meaning, the wrong meaning, the meanings we're going to get rewarded for, punished for. It's making meaning and creating our perceptions ourselves through our own insights. And of course, one doesn't want to get lost in that forever. That's something that I've been working on myself, is I made a lot of different meaning and context, and that was super helpful to crowd out the whole gravity of not only everything I'd been told, but everything I'd experienced, everything that was designed into my life, and move into not only creating meaning and perceptions, but moving through life with new meaning in my eyes and the ability to see and create new meaning and unfold the life of my dreams. So moving as our capacity to create meaning, to create perception, is our uniquely human capacity. So as I just watched myself say that last part, I realized that that is the reversal of what I was going on and on about the micro level of nutrition in the body, making it so we have the capacity to see meaning. So matter, micro matters, can see meaning. And then when we can see meaning, something subtle that we don't consider matter, this seeing the meaning, something so subtle that's not matter, changes the whole unfolding of our gross, physical, material life. So it's a cycle, it's a flow, it's a flux and flow of energy and information flow, and how that unfolds our life, how that manifests as our life as we move through life. When we can see meaning, we unfold a meaningful life that we experience as our physical material life. And if we get our physical material life right at the micro level that's so small and subtle we can't see it, then we can see the subtle, and that unfolds and manifests a new life. I wonder if you can see what I'm saying. Seeing the subtle mind becomes matter, becomes our physical existence. And we can get with that by the gesture of taking care of our physical structure that is going to be that which we walk through life with, which is our perceptual gesturetic apparatus.